Well, this chapter was certainly adventure-filled and action-packed, and we see some of the inhabitants up close of Thriller Bark, and they're a little creepy.
One Piece, chapter 445, Zombies.
Man, this is a little bit freaky, you know? Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and zombies of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and excellent and, I don't even know, thrilling tale? Too cliche, is it? I don't know. Of One Piece. Our last chapter, of course, saw us with really things winding up, ending up, I guess you would say, you know, kind of a little bit in a bad situation for Nami, Chopper, and Usopp as they were thrown from their boat onto shore and wound up, you know, running from and being chased by this Cerberus, this three-headed dog, and then wound up, you know, getting up back to kind of ground level, and then kind of, you know, scaling and hiding up in this tree while this thing eventually lost interest and what have you. But at the end of the chapter, they wind up meeting this weird-looking, like, crazy, kind of almost like a freaky clown-looking thing, and in this sort of horse-drawn carriage. And everything here is just kind of a little bit off, you know, almost like Alice in Wonderland-like, just a little bit weird, a little bit spooky. And they wound up meeting this guy, Hilden, I guess you would say the creepy clown guy that was like, oh, we'll take you to Dr. Hogback's mansion, you know? And they were like, Dr. Hogback? And that's how the chapter ended off. That's right where things pick up over here. We find out very quickly that Chopper is in awe of Dr. Hogback because apparently this guy was like, you know, top of the line as far as, you know, just being like a world-renowned surgeon. And I guess, you know, the deal is, or the word is, you know, the word on the street, as I like to say, is that he disappeared kind of mysteriously, and you know, people weren't sure what happened, if he just kind of, you know, if he died, if he was captured, if he was, you know, kidnapped, whatever the case was, but he hasn't been around for quite a while, and Chopper is, of course, excited to meet him because this guy was, like, at the forefront of, you know, of, like, medical knowledge and different types of surgeries and things like that, so... but anyway, if One Piece is told it's not going to be as clear-cut and simple, it's not just going to be, because, you know, Chopper's like, oh, can I get an autograph? And Hilden's like, yeah, I'm sure that could be arranged, you know. Nami goes and winds up looking outside this carriage that they're in, and she winds up going and seeing this, what looks like a lion, right? And as she goes and the thing turns and looks at her, it looks like a lion with, like, a human's face. Almost like a Frankenstein type deal, though, because it looks like there's, like, stitches up everywhere, almost like it was pieces, like, sewed on from other animals and stuff. So anyway, when she goes to look back, that's not there, but there's a bunch of other just freaky stuff there. This weird Cheshire Cat-looking thing, this living tree. Just, again, it looks like something that was almost out of, like, a Tim Burton nightmare. Like, if anybody knows anything about Tim Burton, like, he does some really weird type of movies, you know. He did the Alice in Wonderland movie, of course, with Johnny Depp. Probably most famous for things like Edward Scissorhands, Nightmare Before Christmas. He even directed the first Batman film. Well, I guess the first Michael Keaton Batman film from the late 80s, early 90s. Anyway, he just sort of has like this twisted sense of reality, and it's really neat. I mean, if you like that sort of thing, but that's kind of what I feel when I look at this. It almost looks like, you know, like Tim Burton, like, just went and hung out with Oda for a couple of weeks, you know, because it's some weird, freaky-looking Tim Burton-y type shit. Anyways, so Nami gets a bad gut feeling about it, you know, and she's like, you know, Hilden, you know, just turn around. I know it's, you know, I'm sorry, I know it's dangerous and everything else, but just turn around and take us back to shore. We'll just wait for our friends, you know. We don't need to meet Dr. Hogback, you know. So he's like, oh, okay, well, let me just go and tell the others, like the ones pulling the carriage, right? So they're stopped, and the next thing you know, they go in there, they're going again, right? And they're like, what the hell? And Usopp goes and kind of looks out the side of the carriage, and he's like, well, I thought we just needed to turn around. What's the deal, you know? They go and they look, and they've been abandoned. Everybody, Hilden and the guy, the horse-looking things that were pulling the carriage, all that stuff, all gone, right? And we see Hilden go and fly off, and he's like a bat now, and he's like, ha 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 ha, and he looks like this sort of weird, and he's got like the weird like stitching-looking things on his face too, like as if he was cobbled together or stitched together, you know, by some sort of, you know, mad scientist, evil genius, you know, again like a Frankenstein type feel. So anyway, they're dead center in the middle of this cemetery, closer to the mansion, it looks like, which is obviously like the focal point, or looks like it's the focal point of Thriller Bark for right now. And they're in this, you know, they're in this this cemetery, and they're like, what the hell? They're starting to freak out, get scared. All of a sudden, up from the ground starts coming fucking zombies, right? And I'm thinking, oh man, it's The Walking Dead, One Piece style, right? They start coming up and they start rocking the carriage. They eventually tip the carriage over, and you know, Nami and Usopp and Chopper are thrown from the carriage. And as they're going and trying to fight these things off and whatnot, Usopp gets bit and he's freaking out. I'm gonna turn into a zombie now and this and that, you know. Nami pulls out her climb attack, starts, you know, trying to whip some ass, and they're pretty much getting overwhelmed very, very easily, very quickly. Usopp winds up going and pulling out this flaming star though, and you know, he's like, oh, you know, a zombie's natural enemy, and he does this, and these things, you know, it looks like he takes a bunch of them out, or at least slows them down. So Chopper kind of hulks up, throws Nami on his back. They all start running, you know, trying to get out of there. They're like, hey, listen, let's just go towards the mansion because that's the closest. It's closer now, right? Let's just go there. Maybe there'll be safety there. And as they're running, the zombies are chasing them for a while, but eventually the zombies kind of trail off. I guess they don't have good endurance. They just get easily winded, you know. But again, this chapter for me, it was just a lot of it was just kind of showcasing the different inhabitants and the creatures, and really it's just kind of cool to see a glimpse into the mind of a genius like Oda. The things that he comes up with are absolutely fantastic. Whether you loved it or hated it, you have to admit that Sky Island, Skypiea, was something that most of us probably would have never thought about. You know, it's something that I can honestly say that when it happened and when they showed it and all the different creations they came up with up there, it was fun and unique and something I never would have dreamed of them going to on this journey of, you know, from island to island. And some of them were just so fun and unique, you know, Little Garden, for instance, and that's one that I wish they spent more time at because I like the whole dinosaur, the prehistoric aspect of it and everything on there, the inhabitants being obviously bigger, you know, like these dinosaurs and everything. So just a ton of, and those are just a couple examples. Obviously we've seen, you know, a dozen or so different types of islands, but they all have their own sort of look, unique look and feel to them, and there's just so much energy and love that it's put into these, you know. And Water 7, Enies Lobby, you know, and now Thriller Bark. And again, it just has this sort of moody, atmospheric, man, just sort of makes you feel like you're in this, you know, maybe this like 80s or 90s, like sort of B-rated horror movie, you know, this Frankenstein or Dracula, if you will, you know, very, very neat stuff. But anyway, as the chapter winds up going and kind of progressing on and they get towards the end of it, they finally wind up going and reaching, you know, the actual mansion itself, and they're looking for safety for asylum within it, you know, and they're kind of yelling and, hey, come on, let us in, you know, we're just travelers, travelers, you know, and just. And this is what I talk about the moody and atmospheric stuff, you know. Oda does such an awesome job, you know, with the artwork of just being able to convey with the shadows and everything like that, the different looks and feels of these different islands. They all feel unique and different, even though it really is just drawings on a page. Makes you feel like, and especially without the use of color, when you have the absence of color, you have to do so much more with the tonality, the depth, and everything like that to really make it kind of feel and come alive, and not just to look like something else that you've already done, you know. So that's really what I enjoy, and I know I've rambled on it for a couple minutes about this kind of backdrop and this atmosphere and everything else, but that's what's going to segue into my chapter question anyway. So, but yeah, my chapter question though for you, brothers and sisters, is what are your thoughts on the design that we've seen thus far anyway of Thriller Bark? Do you feel that it's kind of got this great like mood and sort of atmosphere to it, you know, that it's kind of like its own, I mean, I've said this before, I said it back in Water 7, it feels like it's its own living, breathing character or creature, so to speak, you know. Let me know what your answer is to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit those thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We look forward to catching all of you in the next Fun Nation. This is all possible because of you. Thanks for watching.